So here's a question from Deborah Garrett. Deborah asks, after watching one of your documentaries, I was wondering about the steps involved in creating a TV series, particularly when accompanied by a book. I'm thinking from the original commission of the project, research, writing, filming, through to the publishing of the book, promoting the series, etc. How long does the cycle typically take? Well, I'm going to show my age now, because when I started, the template for the big TV series was still very much civilization, and the cameras were big and productions were slow, people took a lot of time. There was far more money than there is now in the world of arts television. So my first series, it was called A History of British Art, and I worked on that, I think, for 4 years. Can you believe? Robert Hughes, I know when he did The Shock of the New, he worked on that for 6 years. And I spent much of the first 2 years researching and writing. I had a fantastic team, great producers, Paul Tickell, Jamie Muir, Roger Parsons, still all friends. And, we drove all over the United Kingdom, Scotland, England, Wales, not Northern Ireland, but looking at churches, looking at museums, thinking, talking, discussing what we were going to do, how we were going to do it. I wrote the whole book, and we then produced as television the arguments that were in the book. I was to a certain extent revising and writing as I went along. So that was 4 years. Whereas, a friend of mine said a few years ago, you used to go on a recce. You would go, like if you're going to make a film about Caravaggio, you'd spend 3 weeks going all around his places, meeting potential interviewees, seeing what they're like, how you think they'd be on camera and so on. But now, as a friend of mine says, basically you film the recce. The last big series I did, The Art of France, which is 3 hours, was half the length of A History of British Art, which took 4 years. The Art of France took, from the moment it was commissioned to the moment it went on the television, took, I think, 3 months, can you believe? So it was, it was like kick, bollock, scramble. Very, very low budget, super quick travel, amazing kind of test of ingenuity. Fun, like really invigorating and fun, and I'm able to do it now because I am older and I know more. So I guess, but it's all improvised. There's no script. I mean, there's a script in the sense that we talk about how we're going to kind of structure the material and what our approach is, but it's very much made up on the spur of the moment, which I hope, gives it a kind of energy that maybe if you look at A History of British Art and you look at, say, The Art of France, it's like, well, it's 2 different Andrews for sure, and it's just like a different world of television. The smaller cameras have made it possible to be much more mouvementé, as they say in French, to be much more mobile, which is great when you're treating things like architecture and art, but because you can go right through a building and you can see how this mosaic relates to that arch and all of that. But goodness, again, thinking about the difference. We had a BAFTA-winning cameraman on another series I did in the old style, Renaissance it was called, 6-part series, and that was shot on a film camera. And we had this fantastic lighting cameraman. But I remember we filmed the Grunewald altarpiece, which is in this huge sort of museum, and it's sort of centre stage. And to make it look really great, for one shot that lasts for 15 seconds, he was lighting it, and I'm not kidding, for 8 hours with these lights, endless lights coming out, this big van, you've got a grip, these are the, and it just gives you an idea of just how much more money there was in those days compared to now for most arts programmes. So we've become, I think at the beginning we were like an army. Now we're like the guerrilla soldiers. We get in, we get out. nobody, often people don't even notice that we've been there, you know, because we're flying about the place in order to try and meet the mad demands of a mad schedule. But there, you know, there you go. That's the world of television and how it's changed.